G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Here is part 3 of the ships that flew the romance of takeoff.
He passed the entrance island and opened out into the great lagoon. The wind was steady from the east, offering itself for the takeoff. The moon was drawing the ocean to the time of high water, and the swell was coming in over the reef. I sat and watched the swell as we ran through the pre-flight checks. Then I let her come round and up to the wind. We faced the lagoon for a moment of contemplation. Then I gave her full power. The swell was there, but harmless. She protested a little, but it was only to let me know her mood. Slight backward pressure on the control column restored her equilibrium and suggested a way of escape to the air. She responded with confidence, and soon was running light and true upon the surface. A touch of the tail trim, and I broke her away when she was ready. It was warm in the Astrodome, and the sextant responsive to my touch. The yellow sphere of the shaded sun lay steady in the opaque black ball of the bubble. I counted the seconds as I moved back to the chronometer on the chart table and took the time. I read off the altitude on the sextant. The working came easy and with satisfying assurance. There was fulfillment in the simple magic process by which you should know in a few minutes exactly how the aircraft lay. I could thank and respect the brains and ingenuity of those who'd given me the tools of my trade. The sextant, chronometer, the astronomical tables and exact data in the almanac, the Mercator's projection chart, and the early navigators and cartographers who'd prepared it. All these things were the work of centuries, of patient, hidden men who in most cases were not of the sea or air, but whose minds encompassed with the light of inspiration the needs of the navigator. I realized at an early stage of this venture that financial survival would be possible only if I set up the organization on a basis of direct operating costs. There would not be an elaborate paper organization building up little kingdoms of importance with an ever-increasing demand for money without producing any. All that really mattered to my elementary mind was the difference between the amount of money I paid out and the amount I received. And this could be seen fairly readily from two columns of figures, rather less complicated than those involved in working one's position line from the sun.
Well, Bill Taylor was an active flying boat captain at this base. When we all set our course to start out of commercial aviation after the war, he was the director of Transoceanic Airways with Captain Monckton. I'd gone north and started Barrier Reef Airways, but we were very close to each other.
Things were going better and better for Transoceanic Airways. And then, in 1949, an event occurred which had a very serious effect on our operations. Qantas Catalina came back one night from an overseas flight, and after the crew had gone ashore, the aircraft caught fire and sank at its moorings. Well, everybody thought this was very funny at the time, but a few weeks later the smile was taken off my face when I was accused of having engineered this deed. And shortly after, I was charged in the court of law. I really don't know what good this was supposed to have done Transoceanic Airways, because the smaller Catalina really wasn't any great competition to our larger four-engine aircraft. And then again, there were some strange circumstances. The device that was supposed to have caused the explosion was recovered from the wreck of the aircraft completely intact. Well, I stood my trial, and I'm pleased to say justice prevailed, and I was acquitted.
I knew that at any minute of the day, many people in many cities of the world were thinking of escape to an island, most likely a Pacific island. The regular travel services would take these people to a few commercial or trading centers in the islands, with perhaps an attractive bungalow hotel thrown in on the edge of the transplanted European life. They'd be processed through a number of tourist attractions and shipped back home from a quite enjoyable experience. These people would never know the islands or taste the sweet honey of their lives. Even yachts couldn't gain access to the havens of many lagoons, which have no navigable passage to the sea. Only the flying boat could sail freely to the islands, alight and lie indefinitely in the lagoons.
Well, yes, we couldn't afford many staff. Actually, my co-pilot, Frank Kelly, and I used to do the accounts. My wife did the catering and acted as hostess. And I was the bus driver, traffic officer, collected the excess baggage and put the epaulets on. And after loading the baggage into the aircraft, became the captain. It was quite exciting, and I think that my profit and loss was produced on each flight on the back of my cigarette packet.
Finished your drink, sir?
Yes, thank you. The reason Transoceanic Airways didn't survive was because the accountants got control of it. We'd already survived the difficult period of strong opposition from Qantas and the then federal government, and we'd opened up a lot of new and important air routes in the Pacific. But the accountants thought there was no future in it. Well, today, they've been proved very wrong.
I suppose we all re-established ourselves in the airline industry without any great knowledge of the commercial aspect of it. This applied to myself and to P.G. Taylor, later Sir Gordon, lines, and we all became partners or employees eventually. Today, I'm the regional director for the South Pacific for Qantas, the most exciting, growing area for tourism. And tourism today in the South Pacific is really big business. We're developing all kinds of package tours at inexpensive rates so that it's not beyond almost anybody in Australia particularly to visit some of these fascinating places.
I've come over here to see what effect this new runway construction is having on the island. All seems rather pointless to me because there's already a runway provided by nature here, and the flying boat has always been the logical solution to the problem.
The Army tendered for this project, as any other contractor would tender for it. The price having been accepted, the job was given to the 1st Field Engineer Regiment, of which we are a detachment of 60. The project consists of the construction of a 3,000-foot airstrip with a 300-foot overrun on the eastern side.
Well, unfortunately, it's going to be very small. It's going to be too small, I think, to operate a service as regular as what they've been getting from the flying boat. Lord has terribly mountainous, right in the centre of the airport, as it will be these two very, very high mountains. One's 2850 feet and the other's 2550 feet. The winds, of course, will gust around the mountains. It'll be very, very short, and unless they have the right type of aeroplane, and incidentally the right type of pilots that know that area and can handle those conditions, then I don't think they will have a really good service.
Well, time will tell, as the saying goes, and time did tell, as the saying goes. And without being too much of a spoiler, guess what, fellas? Flying boats stopped operating and land planes are now ubiquitous. Back soon with the fourth part in this series.